Hi, I'm Rod Rohrich, Rohrich Knows Best podcast, helping you become a better and more informed you. So we're going to talk about probably one of the most common procedures that's done today. It's the tummy tuck. And I'm privileged to have Dr. Sam Jejurikar with me today, who's the president of the Dallas Plastic Surgery Institute, a good friend and an amazing partner. And Sam is a board-certified plastic surgeon who's an expert in body contouring and facial rejuvenation. And let's talk today, Sam, about the modern tummy tuck. I mean, it's not the old-fashioned tummy tuck, but what's new and exciting about the modern tummy tuck?
Conceptually, tummy tucks have changed. When we first learned about tummy tucks were just an operation to get rid of some skin in the abdominal wall and maybe make the tummy a little bit flatter. Now we think about reshaping the entire body. And that includes doing things like making people have hourglass silhouettes, or creating incisions that are well healed, right, or well hidden underneath a bathing suit, creating a belly button that looks pretty and natural. And so the entire way we have thought about tummy tucks have changed a lot. What I thought the focus today could be more about, though, is how do we change someone's overall body shape and not just flatten their tummy? Great. And so there's a lot of different steps that go into it. The first thing is, when we think about the modern tummy tuck, we used to just be one size fits all. Patient would come in, we would do an incision that goes hip to hip, we would elevate the skin, and we would just tighten them in the midline. Right. Now, when patients come in, they want to think about how they can get the smallest possible waist they can. And one of the first things we had that has changed, I think, in our approach to tummy tucks is changing the length of the incision. So very commonly, probably half the tummy tucks that I do in my practice are extended tummy tucks for patients that want to come in and really get an optimized waist to hip ratio. Instead of the incision just going from hip to hip, it'll actually extend all the way across to the back. And when you do that and you combine that with liposuction of the love handles, you really have an opportunity to deepen the waist in a way that's much more dramatic.
So who's a candidate for that? Not everybody, but who's a candidate for that? For a lot of patients, right?
I think from a physical standpoint, it can be almost anyone who has the ability to pinch the skin and get rid of redundancy.
Exactly. But on the sides, on the flank.
On the sides. Yep. But then also from just a cosmetic standpoint, the patients that come in that want an exaggerated shape. Right. Patient aesthetics have changed a lot in terms of what they want. Yep. It used to be that people would come in and they would be okay with being straight. Now a lot of patients want to be curvier. Right. And when that happens, this is almost a must for many of them.
Yep. I agree.
The next thing that I think is different is this concept of multi-directional muscle tightening. So what do I mean by that? I think when you think about some of the patients that we see for tummy tucks, if pregnancy is the reason why they're there, if you think back to when they were pregnant, it wasn't just a neat little bulge that they got and a neat little separation of the muscles. It's oftentimes just a generalized massive expansion of the abdominal wall that's actually happening. So you need to think about going beyond just the concept of diastasis recti and thinking about how there's been a generalized stretching of the abdominal wall muscles as well. And so the way we explain it to patients is, okay, we're going to put the diastasis recti back together so that the muscles are joined, but even from that aspect, you're still going to have, when you look from the side, you're going to have a bulging of the abdominal wall. So you want to think about creating a corset where you're basically perpendicular to the long axis of the muscle fibers, shortening the muscle so you bring the length of the muscle back down to the length that it was before. When you do that, particularly when you consider that the muscle is fixed on its upper aspect and its lower aspect, you can actually shorten the muscle back to its previous length. And that's how you really get a much flatter abdomen.
And better contour, right?
Better contour. And if you extend that obliquely over the oblique muscles, you can actually start to pull in the waist as well. So practically speaking, it's a much more aggressive degree of muscle tightening, and there's a lot more finesse involved with it. You have to be very cognizant of what's happening with peak airway pressures, making sure that these patients can actually, that you're not over-tightening the patient. Right. So you need to make sure that you're doing this in a way that's safe for the patient, but if done appropriately, you can create a good look very safely for people.
Oh, that's a great point. But again, it needs to be somebody that's experienced in doing this contouring, not just the vertical component.
Absolutely. Yeah. The next thing is using liposuction. I think everyone has heard the term lipo 360. I think it was a term that was created by patients, not plastic surgeons, but it's now sort of the kind of universal term for the concept of thinking about contouring the body in a 360-degree approach. And basically, if you think about the body as having a series of subunits, if someone wants to look curvy, you leave the buttocks and the hips alone.
Right.
You aggressively go after the lower back, the flanks, the bra rolls. And when you do that, you can really enhance that shape. And then finally, it's fat grafting. Now, these are for the patients that really want to be exaggerated. Most of my patients don't want to be that exaggerated. They want to look like they have a natural contour. But for the ones that want an exaggerated waist to hip ratio, we think about adding fat to the hips as well. And if you do that, you can really exaggerate that waist to hip ratio by adding more volume to the hips.
Yeah, that's great. So what about rib shaping today? Dr. Hoyas has talked about that, and I've had him on the podcast and YouTube channel. But that's a pretty aggressive type of approach. I mean, it's safe if it's obviously the way he's described it.
It is, and I think in the right hands and the right surgeon for the patient that wants that really exaggerated look, it can be a great thing. I don't know of many people or any surgeons that in Dallas are doing that. And I don't know that it's the sort of thing that you want to go to someone who's learning how to do it, because
yes.
because in all the papers they show that patients don't have respiratory complications, but obviously when you're narrowing the rib cage, you're diminishing the capacity for the lungs to expand. So it's probably not something that I'm going to adopt in my practice because there's not a lot of demand for it. But there are definitely people that when they're doing it are doing a beautiful job with it.
Right, and what Dr. Jejurikar said is that you got to go to somebody that's done a lot of them.
Yeah, exactly. So then what do we need to know with the modern tummy tuck? Well, when you think about the maneuvers of aggressive muscle tightening beyond the normal repair of diastasis recti and all of this liposuction and fat grafting, there are some recovery aspects that patients need to think about. And so in the world of surgery, there's something called the ARIS protocol, or the enhanced recovery after surgery protocol. That becomes really important when we think about tummy tuck surgery at this point. So that means patients get nutritionally optimized before surgery. Not only lots of protein, but carbohydrate loading ahead of time is really helpful to help them get through surgery a lot more expeditiously. Intraoperatively, pain control becomes a bigger issue.
Right.
With this multi-directional muscle tightening that we're doing, it can be very uncomfortable for people. So thinking about non-standard ways to control pain, whether it's regional blocks or tap blocks using long-lasting local anesthetics, and then some non-opioid medications that are now on the market. Journavx is the one that I'm specifically thinking of. It can really be helpful to help control how people are moving around afterwards, so they don't become too dependent on narcotics. And then post-operatively, again, getting them up and moving them quickly is important, even though all they want to do is lay around in bed. That starts to move things, starts to help the recovery quite a bit.
Okay.
And then I know in facial aesthetics, you use hyperbaric oxygen a fair amount. It's getting a much bigger following in the world of body contouring as well. And the reason for it is not only do we know that it can reduce complications, but we see a huge improvement empirically and just in terms of how people are doing with swelling. As their swelling goes on, I find that their pain does a lot better. Yeah,
enhanced recovery. I think what you outlined really enhances post-op recovery. And what can the patient expect to recover after this type of modern tummy tuck? Is it 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Tell us, what do you tell your patients?
I tell them 2 weeks of profound buyer's remorse where they regret having done it.
2 weeks.
I tell them 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, they can return to work, but it's a very emotional following month where they're fatigued really easily, they swell very easily. And at 6 weeks, the vast majority of patients are so happy that they did this. They look profoundly different and they feel a lot more like themselves.
Yeah, so 6-8 weeks, And you get back to working out and everything 6-8 weeks? Or
I let them do aerobic exercise and light weightlifting in about 6 weeks. In terms of things like, abdominal core exercises, that's variable from patient to patient. It can be as short as 3 months, maybe even longer, depending on the patient.
And what about postoperative massage, lymphatics, and then the whole role of compression garments? I mean, people ask about that all the time. What's the take home on that?
I mean, we could do an entire podcast on that. I do think there's a benefit to lymphatic massage and compression garments for the first few weeks because it helps minimize seromas or fluid buildup. Beyond 6 weeks, I think it's more for the patient so they don't regress from the swelling aspect. I don't think it's that important from a shaping of their final results, but I do think emotionally patients don't like regressing. They don't like feeling as though their swelling is going in reverse. And so most of my patients wear compression least intermittently, for about 6 months postoperatively.
Same here. And actually, you're right. I don't think they just feel like they feel better with it. Some of my patients even run with it and stuff because they say they feel better, and then they can get into compression garments. So I think it's both psychological and otherwise, but I think the patients like it, so it's okay. So incredible. So incredible amount of great safety knowledge on the true modern tummy tuck, how to get shape and contour, not just make it flat. So please give us your thoughts, give us your comments, and thank you so much, Sam, for this amazing podcast on the safety and the finesse of true modern body contouring. Thank you so much.